I'm Serenity. The snow was falling in thick, soft flakes outside my window as I watched the two police cars pull up the long, winding driveway. Their red and blue lights sliced through the white curtain of snow, casting an otherworldly glow on the scene below. My parents, dressed in their faux opulence, stood frozen in their tracks, their fake smiles now replaced with looks of shock and confusion. It all started when I finally achieved my dream of owning a magnificent 3-story manor. It was a place with marble floors that echoed with every step, a symbol of my hard-earned success. For years, I had been nothing but an afterthought to my parents. My birthdays passed unnoticed, my graduations went uncelebrated, and the countless hours I spent learning to survive on my own were ignored. My father, Henry, was a man driven by greed and a false sense of superiority. He always thought he was destined for great wealth but never had the work ethic to achieve it. My mother, Victoria, was a shallow woman who cared more about appearances than anything else. She loved to flaunt whatever little money they had, pretending to be part of the upper class. One snowy day, as I sipped my coffee from the upstairs window, I saw a locksmith's van pull up to my front door. My heart sank, but I remained calm. Henry stepped out first, holding a stack of papers, trying to look confident but failing miserably. Victoria followed, wrapped in a fur coat that she clearly couldn't afford, trying to look like a wealthy socialite. Without even bothering to knock, the locksmith started working on my door while my parents stood there, discussing my house as if I was already out of the picture. "Oh, there she is," Victoria said, as if she hadn't ignored me for most of my life. "Sweetheart, we need to talk about the ownership of this property." Henry waved the papers in my face. "You've been misled. This house legally belongs to us." I looked at the document and let out a loud, mocking laugh. "You should have read the fine print," I said. Just then, the police cars arrived. Victoria's smile cracked, and she stammered, "What is this?" I replied lightly, "Just the consequences of attempted fraud, trespassing, and conspiracy." The locksmith froze in the middle of his work, and Henry scoffed, "You're bluffing." I stepped closer to them. "No, I've been preparing. You never knew this about the daughter you forgot. I don't react on the spot, I plan." Weeks ago, I had hired a private investigator. Through a series of emails that my parents thought were secret, I set up a bait they couldn't resist. I helped create that fake lease, knowing they would take the bait and try to steal my house. As the police officers stepped out of the cars, the handcuffs clicked loudly. Victoria let out a scream, and Henry tried to negotiate, but it was too late. For the first time in my life, I was in control. As they were being led into the police car, Victoria turned to me, her eyes wide with fear. "You did this to us?" she whispered. I tilted my head and said calmly, "No, you did this to yourselves." The SUV drove off into the snow-filled night, and the snow continued to fall. My house, my beautiful manor, remained mine. It always had been, and it always would be. If you love stories where silence turns into power and revenge is served ice cold, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, this was just the beginning. There are more battles to be won, more wrongs to be righted, and I'm ready for whatever comes my way. I remember the long, lonely years I spent building my life from scratch. After my parents abandoned me, I had to learn how to fend for myself. I worked multiple jobs, often pulling double shifts just to make ends meet. I studied hard, taking night classes to improve my skills and increase my chances of a better future. I saved every penny I could, denying myself even the simplest pleasures. It was a long and arduous journey, but I never lost sight of my goal, to own a place that I could truly call home. When I finally found the manor, it was like a dream come true. I poured my heart and soul into renovating it, turning it into a haven of peace and beauty. And then, just when I thought I could finally relax and enjoy my hard-won success, my parents showed up, trying to take it all away. But they underestimated me. They thought I was still the same vulnerable child they had left behind. Little did they know that I had grown into a strong, independent woman, capable of outsmarting them at their own game. I remember the day I first met the private investigator. I was nervous but determined. I explained my situation to him, and he assured me that he could help. We spent weeks gathering evidence, setting up the trap, and waiting for my parents to take the bait. The emails we sent were carefully crafted, filled with false promises of a great investment opportunity. My parents, always looking for a quick way to get rich, couldn't resist. They took the bait, hook, line, and sinker. As I stood there in the snow, watching the police cars drive away with my parents inside, I felt a sense of relief and satisfaction. But I also knew that this was just the start. There were still other challenges ahead, other battles to fight. I went back inside my house, closing the door behind me. The warmth of the fireplace welcomed me, and I sat down on the plush sofa, sipping my coffee. I looked around at the beautiful rooms, the elegant furniture, and the art on the walls. This was my home, and no one could ever take it away from me. I thought about the future, about all the possibilities that lay ahead. I knew that I would continue to build my life, to create more success, and to show the world that I was not defined by my past. The snow continued to fall outside, covering the world in a blanket of white. It was a symbol of a new beginning, a fresh start. And I was ready to embrace it with open arms. In the days that followed, I received many messages of support from friends and neighbors. They were all impressed by how I had handled the situation, by my calm and calculated approach. I realized that I had become an inspiration to others, and that gave me even more strength. I also started to think about how I could use my experience to help others. Maybe I could start a support group for people who had been through similar situations, a place where they could share their stories and find comfort in knowing that they were not alone. As the weeks turned into months, I continued to work on my plans. I renovated more parts of the manor, adding a beautiful library and a state-of-the-art gym. I also started to host small gatherings, inviting friends and local artists to share their talents. My life was no longer just about surviving, it was about thriving. And I knew that no matter what challenges came my way, I had the strength and the determination to face them head on. The memory of that snowy day when my parents tried to steal my house would always be with me. But it was a reminder of how far I had come, of the power of resilience and the importance of standing up for myself. So, if you're going through a tough time, remember that you have the power to change your story. Just like me, you can turn your pain into strength, your silence into power, and your past into a stepping stone to a brighter future. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be able to look back and say, I did it. I overcame the odds.